Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for December 13, 2023 to order. The time is now 7 p.m. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item C is our roll call of council members. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Beaton? Here. Councilmember Brocksmith?
Here.
Councilmember Correas?
Here.
Councilmember Hudson?
Here.
Councilmember Holst?
Here.
Councilmember Morales?
Like in the beginning, present.
Councilmember Miller?
All right. Under community comments tonight, item 1 is the review of emails from the public. I'll ask Peter Donovan if there are any emails from the public to be read into the record tonight.
What?
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Council. Yes, there is one email that Council received on Friday, December 8th from Caleb DeRuin. Caleb writes, "Fix the roads. What is everyone's tax dollars being spent on? The roads are terrible. The hospital is terrible. College Way and Riverside needs to be fixed. I've lived in this town for over 20 years of my life, and the roads have never looked this bad. The new library was a terrible idea. Quote, oh, look at this nice building with books, end quote, parentheses, sarcasm, end parentheses. Fix the roads."
Thank you. Number 2 is our community comments. Is there anyone from the community that would like to speak? You're welcome to come to the podium at this time. When you get to the podium, please state your name, city of residence, and comments about 3 minutes or so.
Sorry, it's taking me a bit to get up here. Scott Correa, 1020 Vera Court, Mount Vernon. I would like to thank the council members who are departing because they do a good job. They don't get paid a lot of money. They answer my phone calls. They listen. They may not do what I want. They may not they may not agree with me, but I always felt listened to, and that's the best you can expect. They always seem to make solid decisions, and I'm good with that. To the mayor, we've had our times. We've thrown rocks, we've called names, we've not gotten along, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I think you've done a pretty good job. And I wish you the best in your future endeavors because you deserve that. With that, I'm going to ask for one last thing from you on the way out. Years ago, we had a committee for an adult entertainment site, which was going to be located south of Blackburn, east of the railroad tracks, along with the jail and the marijuana industrial site and all that stuff. But we had a committee. It met a number of times. It did a lot of good work. And it's not found on the City Council committee page. Now, I went to those meetings and I saw how much data and how much information we lifted from other cities' web pages. And I believe that it would be good for us to pay it forward to other communities if we would put a link for that committee on the current city committees list, so that it would be on a page that would be searchable by Google, and people that were looking for stuff like that would be able to find our story and our data, and that we could sit there and add it to the community body of work that everybody else that's going to be going through what we've done can use. I think that the way we have it situated now, where it doesn't come up on page 1 on a city page, hides it from a lot of people who could probably benefit from it if it was more easily searchable and found. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you consider, in the interest of transparency and sharing data, and the fact that we kind of owe a payback to those who we lifted the information from, we should, since we've already spent all the money, we should at least get the maximum out of that by making it available to others who might need it. On that happy note, take care and have a great career wherever you may land.
Thank you, Scarlett. All right, any other public comment for tonight? We do have several public hearings, so if you're here for that, that will be a time to come. But you're welcome to come up at this time. Again, name, city of residence, about 3 minutes of comments.
Hey, Miles Becker, Ward 1, Mount Vernon. Yeah, so I have two things to say. One is an announcement. There is a Washington Department of Natural Resources Urban and Community Forestry grant that is available. They do this annually for the past few years, but this particular grant is 7 to 10 times larger than it's been in the past, so it's available to any municipality in the state, Mount Vernon included, and we're actually like fairly competitive for a number of reasons related to the demographics here. And the grants range from anything from $10,000 to $350,000. There's no match requirement. It can be for any number of projects. It can be for if the public works wants to plant trees or use trees for stormwater management, they can do that. If it's Parks and Enrichment Services wanting to have more programs around trees, doing career development with people learning how to prune or take care of trees, it can be that. So there's a whole range of projects. I just wanted to let you know about it. Your director of Parks is aware of it and working on it. And I'm not sure about the other departments, but again, Public Works might be interested, Development Services might be interested in it. It's a big chunk of change. You don't have to compete with other budget items if you get it for Parks or whoever. So just something to be aware of. The deadline though is January 8th, so you're a little bit tight on time. The other thing is I would propose adopting or starting a shade tree committee for the city, sort of like some of the other committees with a interest in, I guess, advising the council on issues related to trees, bringing to your attention these kinds of grant opportunities. They are not uncommon in other cities. They're usually members of 3 to 5 volunteers from the city who have any level of knowledge, expertise, and again can sort of advise the council, but also work with staff or oversee things like tree code or whatever you might be dealing with. Like there's some tree code changes coming up. So it's also one of the 4 requirements for a city to get the Tree City USA designation. So it might be in line with that if that's something you're interested in as well. So just something to consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miles. All right, any other public comment tonight? Oh,
Mayor Boudreau, if a resident has a comment about the chicken ordinance, is there a time for that later in the agenda, or is that now the best time?
yes, it would be under the public hearing. I'm trying to, there's so many public
I know,
hearings,
I
so I'm
couldn't
like
find
looking
it
for them,
either.
sorry.
It's like 3 items down.
Yeah, there is a public hearing regarding that,
Great,
yes.
thank you.
I would wait for that. Thank you. All right.
Well, my name is Ellen Gemson. I'm the Executive Director of the Mount Vernon Downtown Association. I live in unincorporated Skagit County. And I too came this evening to thank our departing council members and our departing mayor for your years of service to the community, your partnership with my organization, the collaboration we've enjoyed, and the immense progress we've made during your time here. Councilmember Holst, thank you for your service. Councilmember Morales, sorry we couldn't work together longer, but very much appreciate the energy and enthusiasm and hard work you put into understanding the issues. I hope that where you go, you're very successful. I know you will be. And Jill, I would otherwise get emotional, so I'm just going to say it's been a real pleasure and honor, and you've been a great role model and a bit of a mentor to me as well. So thank you.
All right, then, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you so much. Under consent agenda tonight, we have items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. These are all council meeting minutes, they're payroll checks, direct deposits, claims. There are a couple of agreements for conflict counsel and the EDASC agreement. So asking council if they'd like to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
I'll move for approval of our consent agenda items A through I.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mary and a second by Iris. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. Under reports tonight, we have 3 committee reports. First up is our Public Works and Library Committee, and that is Councilmember Gary Molinar. Gary.
Okay, we opened up the Public Works meeting tonight, and first up, Blake Chesterfield gave us an update on the Park Street Stormwater Pump Station preliminary design, which is still ongoing. The site survey and geotechnical exploration has been completed. HDR Engineering is currently analyzing the pump station capacity, and the preliminary design work is within the budget and on schedule for completion in March of 2024. The city is currently working with the Skagit Fisheries Enhancement Group on the Hickox Culvert Replacement Project. The project received a grant of $192,000 for design costs from Brian Abbott Fish Barrier Removal Board. The city is preparing for a request for qualifications for consultants to design this culvert, which would be a great thing for our fish passage. Next, we had Bill Bellick give us some project updates. Hogue Road and LaVenture Road project is complete. The signal has been operational since October 6th of 2023. And the final project cost was $1.4 million. Then we had, the city was awarded a $1.2 million TIB grant for LaVenture Road widening project. This project will rehabilitate the pavement, add new bike lanes, new sidewalks, and ADA retrofits on the west side of the road. Also update the stormwater system and update utility locations. This project will complete design in 2024, and probably construction will be in 2025. Chris Phillips then gave us some project updates. Snow and ice removal update. Director updated the snow and ice removal program. Educational flyers will be sent to residents with their January 2024 bills. Also talked about the sidewalk program update. Director provided a comprehensive overview of a sidewalk program that included sidewalk replacement program, ADA transition plan, and safe routes to school program. WWTP comprehensive plan. Director provided a comprehensive update on the process and estimated completion date. Also, combined sewer stormwater project, director provided a comprehensive overview and estimation. Completion date was talked about. Sewer and stormwater active modeling project, director provided a comprehensive overview and the goal for an active sewer model, like the city's traffic model that has already been done. There was nothing under library tonight, and then for the good of order, finance director provided an update on some end of year budget amendments, which will be in tonight's meeting. And we close the meeting at 6:50.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Next up is Development Services Committee report, and that's Councilmember Melissa Beaton. Melissa.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our last meeting on November 15th. We started a half hour early at 5:30. After the approval of the minutes, our Development Services Director, Prashner, outlined the process for the review and adoption of development regulations codified in law, which include the GMA, Municipal Code, and our own Resolution 491. Resolution 491 establishes the procedures for review and adoption of any development regulations. All of this results in regulations that are consistent with our comp plan and provides a process that meaningfully engages the public. We also received a refresher on our annual docket process. She then moved on to department updates, including some there's a bug, sorry. It's moving. Including upcoming planning commission hearings, and it's public. Look at Peter. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. She is continuing with her meetings with the development community, and has relayed her discussions with us that she's having, and also reviewed the pre-application process and the requirements. Our 2024 budget discussion continued with Finance Director Valesky reviewing with council our final property tax assessment received from the county and the proposed 2024 levy. This is like the easiest reading so far. The bug scared me. Let's see. Budget updates include additional funding for security for municipal court, and that's held right here in this room, and a proposed change to our affordable housing fund for the Oasis Teen Shelter funding. We reviewed House Bills 1590 and the 1406 history. Both of those bills are designed to assist counties and cities with affordable housing, behavioral health facilities, and related operations and maintenance services through an increase in sales tax. Director Valesky reviewed a resolution that designates REIT 1 excise tax funds for the repayment of financing for the Mount Vernon Library Commons project. And then Mayor Boudreau discussed a memo presented to council in August about using the 1590 sales and use tax funds for housing-related services. Continued discussions on public-private partnerships, a review of potential projects, policy, and other topics will take place in the future. I would just like to say it wasn't really a memo, it was about a 4-inch thick book. And for the good of the order, it was, we were reminded in November that the city was hosting training for elected officials on December 9th. And with that, the meeting adjourned at 6:42.
All right, thank you. Next up is our Public Safety Committee report, and that's Councilmember Mark Holst. Mark.
Good evening. We held our Public Safety Committee meeting last Wednesday, December 6th. Unfortunately, during our Public Safety Committee meeting, a Development Services and Library Committee meeting broke out. There was no public safety discussed. Our first order of business, Director Prashner gave us an overview on our comprehensive plan. We're going to start the work on that comp plan in 2024, and that'll be adopted in 2025. We ended up actually adopting a resolution that night, kind of laying out the timelines and the priorities of work for that document. We have to do that every 6 to 8 years as a 20-year docket or a 20-year plan. It takes into consideration our needs for transportation, our needs for housing, along with the infrastructure and growth that's going to happen within the city for the next 20 years. Last time we adopted that was in 2016. One of the things that Director Prashner brought to us was we talked about our housing. Everybody knows that there's a need for housing. In the past, when we've adopted this, we've never considered what we're lacking in housing units now. We've only looked at what the projected growth is. This year, as the council goes through this work, they're going to take into consideration the shortage of housing we have, plan for that along with the additional growth that we're going to need over the next 20 years. So I think this is going to be a really good document the council will put forward, or they'll put forward, and that'll be adopted again in 2025. We then just went into some discussion with Mayor Boudreau and Director Valesky about the Library Commons. We had an overview of kind of where the building's at, what the timeline is for completion. So we're looking at a completion date of May 12th, 2024. There's some opportunities out there for some additional funding to come in. We then went into recess because we took that meeting right up to 6:59. We had to start our council meeting at 7 o'clock. So we reconvened the meeting at 8 o'clock, and then Mayor Boudreau gave us kind of a presentation of our commercial kitchen area and what the needs are there. Currently, there's no funding hasn't been any funding to equip that commercial kitchen. There's some opportunities there, and council gave Mayor Boudreau the go-ahead and complete that kitchen. And we adjourned at about 8:10.
If I may just add a little bit to that, Mark?
Sure.
So we were talking to the county commissioners about adding $185,000 contribution to that project, which they last week decided to do. So our kitchen is fully funded, and it will be fully operational when we open. So, all right. Next up, item B is council member comments. Any council member comments tonight? Okay, go ahead. Come on.
Thank you. So I believe this might be the last time we meet as a council for the year. So I just want to take a quick opportunity to just say happy holidays to everyone in the city, to all the city staff, to all department heads, and to all your families. This might be the last time I address you as your public servant, so I want all of you to know that it has been my greatest honor to serve all of you. Everybody here in this room, department heads, department staffs, city residents, I will forever be in debt to all of you. So happy holidays to you all, and a happy new year.
Thank you. Right, any other council members? Iris, go ahead.
I just would like to say my great appreciation for my colleagues that are living today. This is the last meeting we have here. I would like to say thank you to Mark for all his support he provided us, specifically during the pandemic time, how collaborated he was with our community and supporting us for those vouchers found. He went through our families for rental assistance. Thank you, Mark, for your vision in our community and for your interest to know what our families do in the community. And for Juan, I have my great appreciation for all you do. You support me and working together in the Ward 1. We are going to miss you, and I know you're going to do great things in the community. I don't have any doubts. And for the mayor, what can I say? You gave us so much power. You gave us, as a women, as a leaders, as a members in this community, you were a role model and a good example how much we can do when we work in team. And thank you for everything you did, and I know you'll continue doing it because you're not done with us yet. we have so much to do in the community, and I know you're going to be there for all of us when we need you. Thank you, and just giving the welcome to the new colleagues we're going to have here, and just looking forward to work all together and continue doing the best for our community, for our families, for our new generation. They are the future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on then, we'll go on to Mayor's report. Just a quick update on the Mount Vernon Library Commons construction. I'm going to apologize because I forgot to ask why we have not made a design choice for red glass everywhere. I have a feeling it might have to do with some of the blower and the testing that they're doing inside. They wrap the building tight. They're doing some testing on the energy efficiency. But we're continuing the first floor build out, progress with framing, insulation, mechanical rough-in. We had a construction meeting today, and I think they're working on 17 different things all at the same time in that bottom floor. More electrical and mechanical equipment have arrived on site. The electrical transformers have been placed in the electrical room. Peter, if you want to, can you click? There you go. So you can see some of that going in. There's brick installation starting on the north elevation is currently in progress. So many things happening. We are finding some difficulty in supply chain. Most specifically, a lot of the electrical components. We have one of a very large electrical service. There's specific switches that are being delayed, so we're really hoping we're opening in May, and we'll just kind of see how that progresses for the next several months. So you can always check out our website, mountvernon.gov, for information about the construction and ongoing updates there. All right. Moving on, I do have item D as committee agenda requests. I do want to note that Councilmember Brocksmith, I wrote down for our future mayor, Riverside Drive public meeting overview, just so that I wrote that down, so we'll get that scheduled.
30% designs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other committee agenda requests tonight?
I can give you a list. No.
All right, moving on. We have no unfinished business, but we do have a need to take a quick break for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to ask Kevin Rodgers, our city attorney, if he would call an executive session briefly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council will now meet in executive session to discuss with legal counsel enforcement actions, litigation or potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding such discussion is likely to result in either adverse legal or financial consequence to the city pursuant to RCW 4230 subsection 1, 10, 1I. This executive session will be for 5 minutes. I have 7:26, so we will reconvene at 7:31, unless
Right.
further extended.
We'll be adjourned into executive session. What that means is we're going to leave the room for those in the audience. If you just want to hang out here, we'll be right back. All right, I would like to call our city council meeting back into order. The time is now 7:32. We're going to proceed with new business on our agenda. First up, item A is the approval of appointments to the Planning Commission, and Peter Donovan is here to present this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello again, Council. Mount Vernon's Planning Commission is an advisory body consisting of 7 members appointed by the mayor to 4-year terms. City Council directs the Commission's priorities and may request their recommendations and their reports on ordinances, resolutions, and other proposals. Planning Commissioners Jim Fickert and Kirk Johnson's seats will expire at the end of 2023. Both of those commissioners have agreed to renew their terms and continue serving for an additional 4 years. And Mayor Boudreau has selected Mount Vernon resident and business owner Luann Burkhart to fill a position that will be vacated at year end. So with that, staff is recommending a motion to ratify the mayor's appointment of planning commissioners Jim Fickert, Kirk Johnson, and Luann Burkhart to the Mount Vernon Planning Commission following a swearing in, I'm assuming is what happens next.
Any questions for council?
So I would like to move the council approve or ratify the mayor's decision to appoint Luann Burkhart and reappoint Jim Fickert and Kurt Johnson to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mark and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And Luann Burkhart is here tonight. I'll ask you to come forward and let's make it official. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the State of Washington,
of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
the duties of
the duties of
Mount Vernon Planning Commission member.
Mount Vernon,
Planning
Commission
member, yes.
member
For the city of Mount Vernon,
for the City of Mount Vernon,
County of Skagit,
County of Skagit,
State of Washington,
State of Washington,
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability and understanding.
to the best of my ability and understanding.
Fantastic, thank you and welcome. All right, moving on. We're going to move on to item B tonight. This is a public hearing and approval of an ordinance. Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapters 2.61, 14.05, and 17.70. Stacy Pratchner, our Development Services Director, is here for this. And many items.
Yes.
Stacy, go right ahead.
Yes, many items. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I know some of you, this will be your last council meeting, but before you get too comfortable heading off to something else, let's do 5 public hearings in a row this evening. What do you say? So let's go ahead and load this up. All right. Always a PowerPoint. All right, thank you again, Madam Mayor and council members. So this evening I'll be presenting agenda items B through F. These are all proposed updates to land use regulations that were docketed by City Council earlier this year. The package of 5 proposed updates this evening for council's consideration include the following items. Item B, shown on your agenda, are proposed changes to code that govern the design review process in the downtown core. Item C is a harmonization of the city and state's definition of environmentally sensitive areas in our SEPA chapter. Item D is proposed updates to the allowances for barbed wire on fences. Item E is the establishment of a hardship exemption for temporary homeless encampments. And item F would be a new chapter to permit the keeping of chickens within city limits. So this evening, the department respectfully requests that the City Council hold open record public hearings and accept testimony on each item. And subsequently, if it's the council's pleasure this evening, to consider and then deliberate on the draft ordinances that were provided in advance of this evening's meeting. The city code then provides 4 options for council at that point as it pertains to all of these draft ordinances. The council at its pleasure can either approve, deny, modify, or render back to the Department and Planning Commission for additional work on the proposed edits. So this evening, you've heard my recommendations. Through the rest of the evening here, through these items, I'll include a brief discussion of the regulatory context that each of these code amendments takes place within. We'll review how each package of amendments has met the requirements, the procedural, legal, and factual requirements of both state and local code, and that they have been perfected, in other words, procedurally, to appear in front of you this evening. And then we'll take each of the agenda items individually as they're listed on your agenda this evening. And within those individual items, prior to accepting public testimony, I'll summarize the background, timeline, and scope of each of those amendments. So you're probably pretty familiar with this graphic from me at this point. This illustrates in pyramid form the 3 broad categories of land use decisions and permits. As council knows, this evening's code amendments take place within the legislative category, and that's the base of the pyramid. This is the stage when the fundamental planning decisions are made, and so tonight there'll be some decisions, if it's council's pleasure to decide, about allowances for chickens, for example, barbed wire on fences, design review board, etc. We're at the stage where citizen influence is at its highest. We have an open record hearing this evening. And as you know, when we start to move then into our quasi-judicial, administrative, and ministerial permits, that is at the point where fundamental planning decisions are already set, and then we are making decisions based on simply does it comply with the code that's been adopted by council. All right. So let's shift away from that broader regulatory background and then talk real briefly about how all these items have met that procedural and legal and factual compliance. So I can affirm that the department and the work that has been done, that the proposed updates this evening have met those requirements. That includes compliance with state and local regulations, for public noticing, for non-project environmental review, that's SEPA, the transmittal of the motion from the Planning Commission to the City Council, and of course, review and notification by the State Department of Commerce. If adopted, we've also found that the proposed changes will be consistent with the code, the statute as a whole. Oh, no, it's okay. It's like, what I do. So let's go ahead and thank you, Madam Mayor, for introducing it. We go to item B on the agenda, which is a consideration of an ordinance to adopt amendments to chapters 2, 14, and 17 respectively of the Mount Vernon Municipal Code and change the design review process for downtown projects. So brief background, the council will recall that in April of this year, the council approved the legislative work program, also called the docket, for the department, and directed at that time for the Department and Planning Commission to work on updates to code that would eliminate the design review board and replace it with a different process, a community conference process. So the department, in fulfillment of that guidance in the subsequent months, completed those procedural requirements that we just saw in the previous slide, review by the state, SEPA threshold determination, checklist and completion, as well as public noticing. And at that time, worked on the code and worked on revisions to code. On August 15th, the Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing, and at that time voted and recommended that the City Council not adopt the changes. And then on September 27th, City Council deliberated on the Planning Commission's recommendation, and at that time closed that part of the hearing, but then guided the department to go back to the Development Services Committee to do some additional updates on those red lines. On October 18th, we met in Development Services Committee, and Council provided that specific guidance to staff on the updated scope. And that, of course, brings us to this evening's meeting. The red lines have been complete, procedural elements have been fulfilled, and now we're at the open record hearing for those updated red lines. So in summary, the proposed updates, they eliminate Chapter 2.61 of the Mount Vernon Municipal Code, and that is the chapter that creates and authorizes the Design Review Board. And then in Chapter 14, which is the procedural chapter for land use regulations, references to the board have been removed. And then in Chapter 1770, which is the Design Review chapter, there's now a new section describing the requirements for a community conference. There's also been clarification in the code that the hearing examiner director have review, interpretation, and implementation authority of the chapter. And then also a new section that authorizes minor design revisions to be approved administratively and without a conference. And I'll go ahead and repeat those recommendations that I gave as sort of the overall recommendations. Respectfully recommend that you have that open record hearing, accept testimony, and then if it's your pleasure to deliberate and then approve, deny, modify, or remand back to the department those proposed edits. I appreciate your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions before public testimony is submitted.
All right, any questions for Stacy before we have our public testimony? Okay, we'll open that up for any public testimony that people may have. You're welcome to step to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, anyone wishing to speak in this public hearing? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing regarding amendments to chapters 2.61, 14.05, and 17.70. Questions to Stacy from council?
No, I think that after our last meeting, we had some discussion. We sent this work back to the department, and we had some further discussions during committees. I think this reflects precisely what council had directed, so I would move the adoption of ordinance number 3880.
Okay,
Second.
a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank staff and mayor, whoever worked on the additional edits to the language with the community conference. Makes a lot of sense. I think it's exactly what we've talked about. We're all hopeful that it's streamlined and effective and not onerous on people, but improves communication and gives people an opportunity to understand and really try to find the right path forward for their design work downtown, in the downtown environment. So thank you for the work you did, and thanks to the Downtown Association and Planning Commission. Keep an eye on it, and hopefully it works great.
All right, with that, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item C tonight is the public hearing and approval of an ordinance. This is Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapter 15.06.095. Stacy.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor and City Council. So item C is a package of amendments that, if adopted, will harmonize the city's definition with the State Department of Ecology's definition of environmentally sensitive areas. This is a phrase that's found within the city's SEPA chapter. That is, of course, our local implementation of the State Environmental Policy Act, SEPA, one of the many alphabet soup acronyms that this council works with quite frequently. And it has to do with the protection of critical areas. So you'll see, once I click that, that there's a very similar timeline to the development of these code amendments, and also to get them procedurally perfected so that the city council can now hold an open record hearing and deliberate on the changes. These were docketed at the beginning of the year. Work took place in the middle of the year and through the fall. An open record hearing was held before the Planning Commission, and then, of course, we're here for an open record hearing before the city council. So in the summary of the proposed updates, these edits are not just a matter of state compliance, but they're going to ease up on some permitting requirements as well. Environmentally sensitive areas currently are defined in our code as both the critical area itself, and the council will recall a critical area can be a wetland or very steep slopes, a shoreline area, etc. So in our code right now, the critical area itself, as well as the buffer, are both identified as environmentally sensitive areas. And just again, a refresher for us. So a critical area buffer is, you guessed it, it's a buffer from whatever development activity is happening from that critical area. With this updated definition that's now consistent with the state, the environmental areas, or the environmentally sensitive areas, will now just be the critical area itself. That doesn't mean that the buffer is still not regulated and there's still certain actions that wouldn't be allowed in it. But in this case, because the buffer itself is not considered the environmentally sensitive area, SEPA doesn't get triggered for any impacts to the buffer. So for example, right now, if someone has a parcel and they're looking to develop on that parcel and there's an off-site critical area and that buffer extends onto their property, with this new regulatory scheme, those folks would not be required to go through SEPA, and they are required right now. So consistency with the state, and hopefully a little bit less onerous permitting when the critical area itself is not on a person's property that they're looking to develop. So again, you have those 4 options. If it's your pleasure to deliberate this evening, of course, I'm happy to answer any questions before this is opened for acceptance of public testimony.
Any questions for Stacy before our public hearing? All right. I'll go ahead and then open the public hearing regarding amendments to Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapter 15.06.095. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this particular item? All right, seeing none, we will close our public hearing regarding these amendments. I'll open up to council as well, but thank you so much, Stacy, for this. I think this is going to be very good news, to be very consistent with state, especially across jurisdictions. Something that I'm super excited to see is just making things a little easier to understand, so thank you.
The department as well.
Thank you for that, council. Any questions for Stacy, or do you have, would you like to make a motion tonight?
Well, I'll make a motion that council adopt the planning commission's recommendations, and this is
Ordinance 3881.
ordinance 3881.
Thank you. Motion by Melinda, second by Mary. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item D tonight, that's right, is a public hearing and approval of an ordinance, Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapter 17.99. This is regarding fences. Stacy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is item D on the agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for introducing it. And this is a package of updates to amend the city's regulation of barbed wire being integrated into fencing. So again, you'll be familiar with the project timeline. This item was docketed in 2023. Work to make it procedurally compliant, notification to the state, SEPA, and then of course our development of those code red lines happened through the summer and through the fall. We held an open record hearing before the Planning Commission, and there's also a discussion in a couple study sessions with the Planning Commission about these updates. And then of course that brings us to this evening with the open record hearing before the City Council. So in summary, Mount Vernon Municipal Code 1799-020 is recommended to, the existing code is recommended to be eliminated and then replaced with an updated code describing where barbed wire fencing can be allowed, where there's some new screening requirements there for council's consideration, and also there's a clear prohibition in there for razor wire. I would also like to add anecdotally that when I was being interviewed for this position, that I was asked to do an analysis of this barbed wire section of code, so ask me anything. So again, no surprises here, council. If it's your pleasure to take action today, you have those 4 options available to you. And I would be happy to answer any of council's questions before you open the public hearing and accept testimony.
All right, questions for Stacy on this? All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing regarding amendments to Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapter 17.99 regarding fences. Is anyone here wishing to speak to this particular ordinance? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Council, questions for Stacy? Or action? This would be ordinance 3882.
And I'd just like to state, to thank Director Prashner for clarifying this for us. There was, when we read the code previously, it was really kind of ambiguous as to what was allowed and what wasn't. I think you've really done a good job of clarifying that. And it's going to be beneficial to the property owners that are wanting to utilize barbed wire on their fences. So thank you for the work that you did, because we looked at the code, we looked at it up here, and I remember going, well, no, it says this. And somebody else was like, no, it said that. So I think you've done a great job clarifying it.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Holst. I wrote the mayor a 2-page analysis saying pretty much that, 2 pages. I'm sure what you mean, but here's what you could do. I want to take that thanks and credit you gave to me and credit it to my staff who did the bulk of the hard work on these red lines. So I really appreciate your recognition, and I'll share that to them. And yes, agreed, this makes it easier both for the public, and when it's easier for the public, it's easier for development services as well.
Awesome. All right. Any other comments?
I'd make a motion to approve ordinance 3882.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mark and a second by Juan.
No, Gary.
Oh, sorry, motion by Gary. I had written, motion by Gary, second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you also to Mary Ann and Claire in Development Services by
Yes.
name and Stacy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We've got item E tonight, a public hearing and approval of an ordinance, Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapter 17.210. Is Stacy.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor, for that introduction, and to City Council as well. And so this evening, item E is a request for council action concerning changes to the temporary homeless encampment code to permit a safe parking camp host or manager to petition the Development Services Director for what's called a hardship exemption. This language, if it's council's pleasure to adopt it, would be local implementation of the state requirements that are contained within RCW 35A 21360, which states that the city should limit its conditions of approval for uses like this to address and really focus on public health and safety. You may have heard your legal counsel at some time referring to these sort of exemptions, hardship exemptions, as our off-ramp, and as a way to look at other ways that conditions in the code can be satisfied. So again, have a similar timeline for the work and to get us here to the adoption of these updates. So now it is procedurally, factually, and legally compliant, and it is perfected and ready for council's review. And then here is a slide that simply synopsizes exactly what I said. The health and safety effects of residents in the community should be the exemption, and that should be one of the metrics for looking at it. And whether a less restrictive alternative is a means to achieve the health and safety objectives that are part of the requirements and conditions for a host or for someone to host a temporary homeless encampment. So at this time, again, council has those four options. If it's your pleasure to deliberate and consider acting on these edits, and I would be happy to answer any questions before the open public hearing begins and you accept public testimony.
Questions for Stacy on this? In short, is this just getting in line with state requirements?
Yes,
That's
it
my
is
understanding.
yeah, exactly.
Strongly recommended.
Yes, okay, all right. With that, we'll open the public hearing regarding amendments to Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Chapter 17.210. Anyone here wishing to speak on this particular item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. All right, council, this would be ordinance 3883.
If I hear no motion, I'll motion for the approval of ordinance 3883.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Juan, a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you. All right. Item F tonight is a public hearing and approval of an ordinance. This is about a bunch of stuff, essentially farm animals in the city. And so I'm going to turn this over to Stacy. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Mayor, and again, City Council. So the seating, item F is a package of updates to both the animal and land use chapter, and so that is listed as Chapter 6, and then also to a number of land use chapters of the code, which are listed right there, those in Title 17, that if approved would result in an allowance for a set number of chickens to be kept in backyards in residential zones, subject to a series of performance standards. So again, familiar project background. This was docketed by the council earlier in the year. Staff has worked on it and held an open record hearing with the Planning Commission. And of course, all of the Planning Commission's recommendations are included as recorded motions in your packet provided in advance of this evening. And then we have the open record hearing before City Council this evening. So to summarize these updates, the updates would allow no more than 10 chickens to be kept, and it also prohibits roosters. There's a requirement for a maximum 36 square foot securable coop with 4 walls that needs to be in the rear yard. There's a requirement for coops and pens to be located 10 feet from the property line. Those coops need to be kept clean and free of dust. It also requires the rear yard where the chickens will be kept to be fenced itself to prevent roaming, and then also prohibits chickens infected with diseases that are harmful to humans to be kept, so a prohibition against that. So again, if it's council's pleasure to take action this evening, you have 4 options in front of you. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the updates in advance of opening the hearing and accepting public testimony.
Questions for Stacy on this particular ordinance? We've talked about it a lot. All right, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing regarding amendments to the chapters, several chapters of our code regarding farm animals in the city. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this particular ordinance?
I have to.
Come on up.
I apologize to the council for what I'm about to do. Let me poke a few holes from an engineering perspective
For the
in
record,
your
Scott Correa
ordinance.
for the name.
The ordinance says you can have 10 chickens, but it doesn't say you can only have a maximum of 10 chickens on the piece of property. It only says that the owner can have 10 chickens. So if I want to have a lot of eggs, and if I get my next door neighbor to give me his 10 chickens, now I can have 20 chickens, and the ordinance is silent on that. If you're going to have intermixed chickens like that, the ordinance is also silent on anything that says the chickens have to be banded to show ownership. So if somebody has too many chickens and he says, oh, well, they're my neighbors, he has plausible deniability unless you have put into your ordinance a way to specifically identify a specific chicken to a specific address. I'm just saying, it's got some more work that you might want to think about before you endorse the thing and make it a law. Think those things over. Have a nice day.
All right, any other? If you could state your name for the record, please.
Yes, Arthur Huff. I live on Creek Place in Mount Vernon, Washington. I've been here numerous times to speak to you, and I did attend the Planning Commissioner's meeting last month. I believe you've done lots of work on this and tried to make the public as happy as you can. I, for one, was concerned about the possible noise, smell, and I didn't bring any notes, but the noise and the smell and the proximity to the property line for the purpose of having a picnic in my yard, which I really was concerned about. I went through a lot of other details in the past. I don't really think that needs to be rehashed, other than I do believe that there needs to be a property line buffer. The 25-foot buffer that was originally in the small animal ordinance was removed. It seems like all the rules were removed and sort of ungeneralized in the new proposal. But I believe the proposal, as you've worked on it, has made a huge improvement to the city and to the health and happiness of our residents. Myself and my neighbors really do appreciate having a buffer. I was at the Planning Commission meeting when they recommended a 10-foot buffer. One gentleman recommended 15-foot buffer. A 10-foot buffer is a happy compromise. At least it keeps it off the fence and directly where I sit my picnic table. So I do appreciate that, and I would hope that you'll adopt the ordinance, if you do adopt it, with a buffer, a minimum of the 10-foot that was recommended. That's all I really have to say. I do appreciate your time. I did want to mention that I am the person, as you all know, that sort of got this started back in June, I believe. And the mayor's office responded, her executive secretary, to every comment I would ask. The people who spoke to me after that was very helpful, agreed to speak to me, call me back. I didn't speak to but a couple different people, but they were very helpful and willing to speak further if I wanted to. So thank you for your work. Thank you, Mayor Boudreau. I think your office is very special. And all of the council members, I thank you for your time. And I hope things are good for the outgoing council members. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Hupp, I hope when the action kind of goes into place that you'll help give feedback as to how the ordinance is working in the future. Right. All right, anyone else wishing to speak on this? If you could state your name for the record.
Certainly. My name is Mary McRae, and I live in Mount Vernon. You invited me back on this one. I did try to contact you, but I failed. So in any case, I did not see the updated thing until just now. And last time I came, I was unprepared to speak, and I am today too. But I brought what I had from last time, the pre-updated. And as the first gentleman said, maybe a little bit more work. Do you know they have collars for roosters to keep them from being any louder than a chicken, than a hen? If somebody has a beloved pet rooster, You know, you have bark collars for dogs. Why wouldn't you have something like this? And have you thought about the grandfather clause that I spoke of last time? The people that are going to be injured are the people that have their chicken coops already set up. And if a neighbor moves in next door that doesn't like it, they're going to have to move it. And most of those people have been in Mount Vernon for years. It's the senior citizens that don't have the money to put out $3,000 for a new coop or to move it to the backyard. And what if the side yard is more appropriate than the backyard on a case-by-case basis? And I can see all of those rules for the new houses, the 3,000 new houses that are going in between, Blackburn and Waugh? Have all of those rules, and people know what they're moving in with. But don't punish the people that have already been here and have already been set up for so long. And then look at our businesses. Have you been to Tractor? To, the farm supply places? And they have their coops set up. And year-round, they supply for chicken feed. And 1/3 of their store is set up for chickens in the spring. It's big here. And I came out, I've only been here a few years, I'm sorry. They bulldozed my house in Bothell, and that's how I ended up here, and I love Mount Vernon. And I'm here because I had a precious German Shepherd dog, and we walked 6 miles a day 2 years ago. Last year was 1 to 2, and then the summer was the backyard, and in September he died. But he carried a stuffy. And on our 4 to 6 mile walks, we met people all over Mount Vernon because of, the dog. Everybody loved him. But I met a lot of chicken owners, and so I talked to them about this. And they don't want to come here because they don't want to be found out. They are afraid that somebody will make a law that takes their chickens from them. And do you know that Tractor sells diapers for chickens? Because a lot of people want house chickens. So if they have had their chickens on the side yard, and suddenly you pass this, and now they have to move it, but they can't afford it, they're on a limited income, Social Security and whatever retirement, what are they going to do? Is there more research you should do? Last meeting, one gentleman, there was, you can help me on this maybe, it was the grandfather clause that was being voted yay or nay, and the property boundary line, and they were both put in the same thing. And one lady says, I want to vote for the grandfather clause, but against the property boundary, what do I do? And one gentleman says, well, just vote against it, the grandfather clause, because we're never going to enforce it anyway. Well, so it got voted out 4 to 3, the grandfather clause did. That doesn't seem right. You should vote on one thing at a time, not the boundary and the grandfather clause together. Because this woman, if this woman had been able to separate them, the grandfather clause would have passed. And that's the main thing I want to say is, beware of what you're doing to the business. Beware of what you're doing to people that have had their chickens in their yard for some time. I never saw anybody that was ma and pa kettleish. They all loved their chickens as little pets. And, say their backyard or their side yard is 30 feet from the neighbor's house. Well, that's well within tolerance. So why would you make them move it to the back, where maybe you have a 10-foot clearance? Maybe it just needs to be looked at a little bit more. I agree with rules. And when I had my chickens in Bothell, I had 13 chickens, because somebody threw in over the fence, 12 ducks and 2 turkeys. And they were 15 feet from my back door, which was my dining room and kitchen. And if I didn't keep up on it, it's true, it did get stinky. But I kept up on it. And just like a dog, if you have too much dog manure in your yard, it's going to get slippery. And so, maybe have guidelines where you don't let somebody have a kennel in the middle of the city, same you don't let them have a farm in the middle of the city. But at least allow people their pets and allow them to keep their way of life. And I don't know if I've missed anything, or I took notes, but I don't speak well from notes. So are there any questions you have for me, or have I stated it well? Okay,
That's good.
thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Just please state your name for the record, about 5 minutes.
My name's Laura Pays, and I live over on Meadowlark, half-mile or less from here. I, too, was at the Planning Commission meeting, and I am a chicken owner. And so I have 7 hens currently, and we did build our pen for them, 25 feet off the fence line. And, and so I know that there were some rules and guidelines in place because, previous. But I also was somewhat disappointed maybe in how the vote went at the Planning Commission, because there was definitely confusion, not only amongst people in the audience, but amongst members sitting in your chairs of what were we voting for, what were we not voting for, and what just went through, and wait, that was what? There was a very clear perception as an audience member that there were individuals who were voting who were not completely clear on what exactly was being voted. It was just, this is going through. And so I'm not out of compliance, so I'm not afraid to come and talk to you. But I am also concerned about there being a grandfather clause in terms of existing people in the city who maybe have something that is, maybe they currently have 12 chickens and this says 10. So when I spoke of a grandfather clause at the Planning Commission meeting, I was actually speaking of a grandfather clause on behalf of the lives of my pets, because I am vegetarian, I do not eat my pets. But some of the commissioners thought I was speaking in terms of like grandfathering in chicken coops that were in the wrong location or that were already on fence lines and whatnot. And I hear the concern for seniors and people who might have to move something, but I was more interested in people who have pets, and if they're above 10, then maybe giving those pets, whether you have to put a band on their little leg or whatever it is. I hope you're not going to make me ban all of my chickens, but I'll do it if I have to. And that's what I would have you consider. And I did feel that when it was being voted on before, because those items were in conjunction, it was very clear that there were members who were voting who had things go through and then, oh, yep, second motion, aye, nay, wait, what was that? And so as a community member, I also was somewhat concerned about that process.
Thank you, Laura. All right. Seeing no other comments, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing regarding amendments to the chapters.
Am I allowed to say one sentence?
Go ahead.
I was at the commission. They had a very lengthy discussion on what we should do and what we shouldn't do. The man sitting in the far corner, not him, the one on the commission, the young man, had chickens. He suggested 10 to 15 feet, and numerous members discussed the yays and nays. I'm not a good speaker, but I spent 20 years in the Navy. They had a very clear picture of what was going on, and I believe they did a wonderful job with their discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Stacy, you want to come back up? Council, what types of questions do you have, or comments, or ordinance 3884? Richard, go ahead.
Okay. this is an important issue and serious issue for many people. We've had a lot of fun with it, the Chicken Task Force, and I'm sure the department has had just a blast with this. But we have had a lot of conversations, and I do feel like we've really recognized that we needed to have a specific chicken ordinance in the city. And we tried to find one that was, detailed enough to provide some, bookends around the situation. But I hope folks know that really, from my perspective at least, owning chickens is a responsibility to your neighborhoods. And we hope that this ordinance is never needed because people know who their neighbors are and they're treating them with respect. And if the neighbors have a problem, with your chickens, I sure hope you'll listen to them and help manage that situation so that this ordinance is never needed. Of course, I do have one amendment that I would like to recommend, but I did want to first, thank the folks who have worked on it. Thank all the citizens for their input. I think they've really brought to light that there are a lot of chicken owners in the city. That's for sure. This will have some impact on folks. Not everybody will have the ability to work within the rules we're putting in place. So that, I think, is the biggest weakness of this approach, that especially folks with small lots, and maybe some of those are folks who are more economically burdened than others. And so that's a weakness in an area where we're trying to protect property rights, we're trying to support food security, those kinds of things. But it is, I think it has found a middle ground, and hopefully it's never needed and that people are just being good neighbors to one another. I do have one amendment that I'd like to recommend, and I just put it on the table maybe to get the conversation started, but I'm really interested to hear, other thoughts from the rest of the city council about this. And the one amendment is, we did talk in our many discussions about one of the issues that was brought up tonight about, several of the issues. One of them is the buffer with the neighbors and the fences. And I was at the planning commission, and I really do think that they did have a good discussion about that. And the 10 feet felt good. I do agree, though, that there was a little bit of uncertainty on the final vote, but that's maybe a different topic for a different day. One of the speakers mentioned the constraint in the draft, which is only allowing pens in the backyard. And we had brought that conversation up here. And the reason that we, as a group, did not go the way of allowing pens all over the property is that we currently don't allow, these additional structures in front yards. They're required to be in backyards, and we wanted to be consistent with the rest of the code. So that was really important to us, that consistency. Does this sound familiar? I don't want to misinterpret it. So that's good, in my opinion. The one thing that I would like to see changed is currently there's line F, line G, where it talks about chickens may roam freely only in the rear yard so long as they are contained on the premises by adequate fencing securing the chickens. And I would like to propose to my peers here that we strike, I'd make a motion to strike the words only in the rear yard, so that it still says that chickens may roam freely on your premises so long as they're fenced in, right? And so what that's doing is it's, I think, respecting, food security, respecting private property rights, helping folks who maybe have, smaller yards or that sort of a yard that can't work only in the backyard. So it provides a little bit more flexibility. And I don't believe that it impacts any other citizens' rights. I mean, we allow cats to walk around, right? We're not limiting cats to the front yard, for instance. So I think that's a fair amendment that I would make. Otherwise, I'm, again, really thankful for all the conversation, and sorry it went on so long.
Okay. Council? I'd like to ask a clarification. I just want to make sure I understand. So you'd like us to change it so that chickens can roam, I'm not a chicken person, so I'm probably gonna butcher how I'm saying this, but please forgive me. That chickens can roam anywhere in your yard, but it has to be a fenced yard.
Correct,
And the
yeah,
coop would still be in the backyard.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so the motion was to remove only in the rear yard, so it still leaves, they may roam freely,
Okay.
so long as they're contained on the premises by adequate fencing securing the chickens.
Okay.
We don't want
Just
our
wanted to
chickens
make sure.
roaming around down the street,
Right,
right?
that's just
We
what I
agree.
wanna make sure that I understood where you were
Yeah.
coming from.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Mhm.
Other discussion?
So
Mark and then one.
I've been to Richard's house. It's very well fenced in, and his chickens roam all over the place, and they're pretty cool, actually. I wanted to steal one, but his wife kept an eye on me, wouldn't let me make off with one. You know, and people don't let their chickens roam like all night. They go back in the coop in the evening. I wouldn't have a problem seconding the motion to strike it, so that it's, as long as they are fenced in, that they can roam. I don't have I would second that.
I would say, no, it's okay to have third support. But I have seen in my neighborhood, one of my neighbors, she has the full fence also. It's in the other side of where I live, and I don't see any problem either when I see the all fence, the yard is all fenced, and have those chickens. In many families they don't have 10 chickens. Sometimes my neighbor, she just has 8, I think 6 or 8, and I haven't seen any chicken on the street, and I won't have any problem also to support this amendment.
One,
Yes.
did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the department, does the department have any thoughts to the proposed amendment that Brock Smith mentioned? It sounds logical to me, so I would also be in favor in just striking only in the rear. But does the department have thoughts to that point?
Thank you, Councilmember, for asking me that. So I would say, I would respond to that to say that the discussion is really policy-driven. I don't, and the department wouldn't necessarily offer anything as far as health, life, safety, or some other kind of requirements. This is really about, it really is a policy decision among council. So no, I don't think I have much to offer. And
Thank you.
yeah, in terms of that, thank you.
Thanks. And then the only other thing was, I did notice that in the planning commission notes, it was a 4-3 vote. I'm curious to know what was the opposing view to the 3 votes that were not in favor to this matter.
Let's see. Typically, when the nays are given, it's a simple vote of nay. So I may have to go back to the recording and follow up with you on that question. But yes, I can confirm that we had 4 in support and then 3 who were opposed to the updates. I think you heard from some of the public comments this evening. There was some discussion about buffers versus setbacks, and then also discussion about the grandfather clause. So yes, I can comment to the findings that were recorded into the majority vote. But the specific information about the nays and those findings, I would need to go back and listen to the recording and report back.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
So I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 3884 with council members Brock Smith's amendment.
Second.
Okay,
It
so,
was already seconded.
no,
Oh.
I don't think Richard had made a
Somebody
formal
said
motion,
second.
but
Mayor Iris was saying she'd third.
So obviously
I don't
somebody
think I-
So normally we would have, we would have had a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Oh, okay,
Then we
gotcha.
would have had an amendment, we would have voted on the amendment, and then if the amendment passed, we would then vote on the ordinance as amended. But because we had the discussion on the amendment, I just went ahead and included the amendment into my motion to adopt the ordinance. If council wants to reject that, then we can take a second vote on whether we want to adopt it without the amendment in it.
Yeah, so you were the second.
Originally, he agreed with Richard.
but Richard had made a motion, so we'll go with Mark's motion.
I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
And now I don't remember who seconded it. Iris.
Okay. Second.
So I just want to make it clear, when you're referring to Councilmember Brock Smith, you're just asking to strike on section, or number G, you're striking rear yard, only in the rear yard. Is that correct? Okay, just so we're clear for the, for the recording, and then for the vote for the council, to be clear. All right. Any questions on that? All right. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to item G, which is the approval of an agreement with Skagit County. And while our chief, Kamek, is coming up, hats off to Stacy, her crew, and Development Services for accomplishing a whole bunch of work by the end of the year and public hearings. Woo-hoo. All since being here since August. So. Superstar. All right. Item G tonight, approval with Skagit County. Chief Kamek is here. Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. Yes, this is just, you're familiar with this contract. It's renewal. We've had it in place since 2016. It's between the City of Mount Vernon and Skagit County. And they help us fund our social work program and services. The contract is due to expire December 31st of this year, so I'm just here to ask for a renewal. The contract amount this year is $77,000, which is $5,000 more than previous years. Skagit County had some additional funds and appeared pleased with how we were using the funds and asked if we could use them, and we said we will certainly put them to good use. So I'm here to ask the council to approve the mayor to renew the 2024 contract with Skagit County.
All right, questions for Chief?
If I hear no questions, I'll motion for the approval of the interlocal agreement for the law enforcement embedded social worker.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion by Juan, second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
One moved that along so quickly. I did just want to take 2 seconds to acknowledge the partnership with Skagit County. I know when an embedded social worker in 2016, and I came onto council in 2018, I talked to a couple members of the department, and they were like, when we were talking about this, it was, we're gonna do what? And in 2 years, the particular officers I was talking to, it had changed, their view of that. And look what it has grown into today, which is the integrated outreach services. So thank you to the county for their partnership and to the police department.
Yeah, and thanks
And
for
Chief's
recognizing,
leadership.
because I think they were startup funds that I don't know that we would have gotten off the ground or where we're at without it, and other things. And they've been super supportive on some other areas when we've needed funding as well. So thanks for acknowledging that.
All right, thank you. Moving on, item H is approval of an ordinance. It's 2023 budget amendment. Our finance director, Doug Valesky, is here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. So tonight, city staff is requesting council to approve ordinance 3885 to amend the 2023 adopted budget. This is the third and final budget for 2023. I do have a presentation I could share, or we could just go over it real quick, however you prefer to save time.
We reviewed that in committee this evening, so if you want to just give a quick overview, I think council's got a pretty good grasp of what's going on.
Okay, all right, I can do that. So just to go through here, we had some, a grant that we received for our general fund or municipal court for the jury room and the courtroom here for some IT equipment upgrades for $37,500. There was an agreement for Skagit County Public Health for Martha's Place, permanent supportive housing for operations, maintenance, and services for $500,000. There was also the Affordable and Supportive Housing Fund required an increase for contributions that council agreed to for the Immigrant Resource and Immediate Support support in the amount of $30,000, the Friendship House in the amount of $55,000, and the Family Promise of $25,000. In parks, there was some to account for some grants and some money that was received, and also a small correction for a negative reserve in the Municipal Arts Fund for a total of $23,898. The Parks Capital Reserve Fund, there was $200,000 that was received for PUD for work for us to perform renovations to Hillcrest Park and Edgewater Park playfields. Surface water, a project, the Park Street Pump Station Project design, had an increase of $100,000. And then there was also a budget for 2023 that was missed also for surface water utility for the purchase of a wheel loader for $197,241. The Facility Renewal Fund had $350,000 for some work that was done on the police court campus for emergency generator. There was also some electrical work done on the Lincoln Commercial Block, and then also an HVAC in the Lincoln Commercial Block building. And then also $50,000 from the Commercial Block Fund for the $50,000 is to contribution to offset that. We talked about the fire capital projects, the fire station remodel projects, and we're looking at about $500,000 estimated amount budget amendment for that this year. And then lastly, there's a small $5,000 increase to our Public Works Facility Fund, which was some expenditures related to the architectural service of the Public Works Maintenance Shop. So with that, as these increases in expenditures were not included in the 2023 adopted budget, these budget amendments are necessary to complete and properly record these expenditures. All listed funds have available funding for these expenditures, so city staff is requesting council to approve ordinance 3885 to amend the 2023 adopted budget.
All right, thank you. Questions for Doug on this?
But Doug, there's a number of items there. There's some of it was equipment, and I think just for clarification, this wasn't new equipment that came up this year. It was things that were budgeted in 2022. Those funds couldn't be expended because the equipment wasn't available at that time. So basically what we're doing is rolling over those funds from 2022 into this 2023 budget amendment.
That's correct.
And I might also clarify, all the other ones are all items we've discussed over the last year, had quite a bit of discussion, authorized approval, and that this is just a cleanup process. Doug's very diligent about tracking all those things and streamlining it, and this is only the third amendment to our budget for the entire year, so this is the end of the year cleanup process for folks, all things we've seen and approved before.
That's correct, yes. These are all something the council's approved of. Thank you.
I have a motion for the approval of ordinance 3885.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Juan, second by Mark. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Item I is the approval of an agreement with HKP Architects, and Chris Phillips, our Public Works Director, is here for this item. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. You may have heard of a very small project on Kincaid between 2nd and 3rd, Mount Vernon Library Commons project.
Tell us more, Chris.
I shall. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Hudson. This is a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract amendment with HKP Architects to provide compensation for additional unforeseen construction management costs for the Library Commons project. Amendment 4 shall not exceed $199,334.70 for a new total contract amount for the project of $4,006,906, pending your questions.
All right, any questions for Chris on this?
Chris, is the majority of that finding some unforeseen items in the ground and also having the delays with PSE? Is that what's caused the additional?
Pretty much.
Sort of that, and there's other just true-ups between conversations that go on between the architect, Leidig, and then OAC, who is our agent. It's interesting conversations between them, but this is all legitimate conversation that's going on with the Commons project.
I had a follow-up to that too. Thank you. So there's several, there are lots of details in the briefing packet, lots of material. Took a little time to read it all, but so you had several tasks that were specific and responsive, and then the 3/4 of the requested amendment, about $150,000, was the estimate for 3 months of contract management, right, for project management?
Project management,
Yeah.
yes.
And my only question is, that's an estimate, and we would be billed on a time and hourly basis, correct?
Material and time, yes.
Thank you. So that's an estimate, it may come in lower.
Could, absolutely.
Hopefully should, hopefully will.
All right. What's your pleasure?
I will motion for the Fourth Amendment to the contract with HKP.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Juan and a second by Gary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. We're getting down there. Item J, approval of an agreement for Western Display Fireworks. This is Jennifer Berner, our Parks and Enrichment Services Director, is here for this.
Good evening, council and mayor. So before you this evening is we have our annual contract with Western Display Fireworks Company to do our fireworks for the 4th of July. This is our large show that we do out at Edgewater over the river there on Independence Day. So this is an agreement for us to provide that fireworks show for the city. It's all covered through lodging tax dollars, so there's nothing that comes out of the general fund to fund this particular fireworks display. So staff is asking for your approval for the mayor to enter into this agreement with Western Display.
All right, questions for Jennifer?
No, but it seems to me that there's only a couple of council members up here on the council that appreciate fireworks. So I would make a motion that we approve the agreement with Western Display Fireworks.
Very appropriate.
Second.
Motion by Mark and a second by Iris.
I could ask a quick
We did
question.
delay bringing this until all of the other was calmed down.
All right, we do have a motion and a second and
Richard had
a
a
discussion.
question.
Yeah, just a quick one. Is the increase in costs from last year inflation or a bigger, better fireworks show?
Pretty much inflation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
They're keeping the show basically the same, so they're not downgrading the show, but it does cost more.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, all right.
Well, we all
Better
know
than
how
the
much I love fireworks. You know, we could certainly look into a laser light show in the future.
I
So,
made the motion so that we wouldn't have to have a discussion about laser light shows.
you opened the Pandora's box.
Is that calling the question?
For 70 grand.
The question.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Item K is the approval of an agreement with RCO, the Recreation Conservation Office. Jennifer.
So again, this evening, this is something we've brought to you and we've had conversation about, but this is the actual true agreement now with RCO. We've turned in all the paperwork that we needed to get to this point where we are executing an agreement with RCO for the deferred maintenance grant. That's a grant that we put in for. There's no match required with this grant, and it's for, we have $99,300 for deferred maintenance projects in a variety of our parks. This particular agreement is only for $42,000. So the state's on a fiscal year versus a calendar year. So they needed us to break out how much money we were going to spend between now and June 30. And so these projects, the $42,000 is what we will spend in our projects between that timeline, and then the remaining $57,300 will be spent in the second fiscal year. And they were very clear that whatever you put in this agreement, you need to be able to spend it. If you spend over, it comes out of your own personal budget, you can't borrow from the next year. And if you don't spend it, you can't roll over to the next year. So we were very prudent in looking at which projects we knew we could get accomplished this year, and ones that we weren't sure of, we deferred them to the next year because we would have a full year to get them accomplished opposed to 6 months. So with that, we are seeking approval for the mayor to enter into an agreement with RCO for the deferred maintenance.
Questions for Jennifer?
I'll make a motion, council authorize the mayor to enter into the RCO deferred maintenance grant agreement.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jennifer. Just for our public, there were 157 projects submitted. We ranked 31st. We got a lot of money to do a lot of great things. So Jennifer, thank you for that. All right. Item L tonight is a meeting cancellation request. So the regularly scheduled fourth Wednesday meeting by City Council is per ordinance. If council would like to take the week off between Christmas and New Year's, we do need a formal motion to cancel that meeting. If you want to meet, we can. Thought we'd give you the option.
I'm sure we could find something to talk about.
I don't know, Juan, do you want this to be your last meeting, or you want one more? I'll take one more, so.
I'm cool.
I'd move to approve the or not the ordinance.
Cancellation.
Yep.
We did a lot of this tonight.
Yeah,
so.
we did.
All right, Gary, that's a motion.
Second.
Second by, motion by Gary, a second by Iris. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed for real?
Aye.
Same sign. Mark opposes, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we've come to the end of our agenda. Item M tonight is the city recognition for service. We have a couple elected officials who their current term will end, and they will be leaving this dais on December 31st of 2023. I would like to ask Councilmember Hulse and Councilmember Morales if they would join me in the front for just a moment. I will say a few words, and then your fellow council members will probably say a few words.
Real thought.
So I will talk to Mark first. Mark, we came on this dais at the same time. I have grown to respect you so much and to value your time and working and serving with you. You have added so much to the city, so I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to present you. This is a block print that's just for my office to give away. This was designed by Phoebe Carpenter Ellis from El Sage downtown. And so I wanted to present this to you. On the back, it says, "To Councilmember Mark Hulse, thank you for your service to the city of Mount Vernon, your steadfast collaboration during your 3 terms on city council. The city is better because of your leadership." So, thank you.
Thank you.
So Juan, it has been an incredible pleasure to get to know you and work with you, your perspective, your incredible hard work, reading your packets, calling and having really good, frank conversations has been really valuable. Thank you for being willing to step up in public and serve. It's not comfortable all the time, but I hope that it's been a really amazing experience in your life. So I wanted to present you with this block print as well. And on the back, it says, "Councilmember Ron Morales, thank you for your service to the city of Mount Vernon. Your professionalism and perspective gave valuable contribution to your fellow council members and to me. Best wishes, Mayor Jill Boudreau." So this is for you. I'll have you stay here because there's more. I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Hudson.
Well, I'm gonna start the talk.
Okay.
Okay, I'm starting.
I guess we'll stand out here.
Why don't we do this?
Yeah.
Why don't I present what we've got?
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll come back up and sit here comfortably, and then we can,
Okay, perfect.
okay, how's that? All right. You two go right back where you were.
Just moving us around.
I am.
Pawns.
Okay. So, Juan, on behalf of council, I would like to present you with this. It is a plaque, and I'll read it to you. City of Mount Vernon, presented to Juan Morales in appreciation of your dedicated and consistent service to the city of Mount Vernon and its residents as council member for Ward 1, January 2021 through December of 2023.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. We're doing it again. It's pretty much going to be the same thing, but different name.
Okay.
So, on behalf of your colleagues on council, your plaque says the City of Mount Vernon, presented to Mark Hulst, and appreciation of your dedicated and consistent service to the city of Mount Vernon and its residents as council member for Ward 2, January 2012 through December of 2023. Thank you.
How about if we have you go ahead and be seated, and that way be more comfortable, and I think council members might have other things to comment on.
I was hoping that maybe Candy could take a group photo of all of us.
Yes, absolutely.
If that's all right?
Standing up by the dais?
Yes.
Okay.
So that means. So, yeah, we'll just all come together.
Okay, sounds good.
Get in the middle.
This is why you shouldn't leave me in.
group photo comes
I wanna be next to the styling one here.
Oh my goodness. Let's get up front.
No, I'll block everybody.
We can go side by side.
Are we looking to
We're
right?
going over to look. Get nice and close, nice and cozy.
This
Okay.
is as good as it gets, right?
3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thank you. Right, I'm going to toss the floor to Councilmember Hudson.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm the crier of the group, so just bear with me. Mark and I have sat together for 6 years. I've only been on 8, so 6 years. So we have differences of opinion, which is okay, but we always have good conversation. And so I appreciate the fact that he's willing to listen to me, and I'm willing to listen to him. And I've learned a lot from him, and I appreciate you very much.
Great. Any other council member comments?
Yeah, I just wanna say to Mark, you know, we've done the battle over the years, and it's been great. You know, I don't think we, I don't think we fought as much as you and Mary, but, you know,
Only over fireworks.
I think that is the one we did. But, yeah, I'm very thankful for you serving the way you did, and, I just, and then also with Juan, again, Juan, you know, you and I had some great conversations. I think we were always pretty straight up.
Yeah.
And, I really enjoyed having you on the council. I'm sad you're leaving. And I'm really sad too that you're leaving too, Mark. But, I know you guys got a lot of things on your plate, which I think will be great for a lot of other people to see, so.
I just wanna say, Juan, I am so glad that you, were appointed and then that you ran and you worked so hard. It's been a pleasure for me to sit up here alongside of you and watch you grow, and more importantly, for me to learn from you. So thank you so much. Mark, we are just two unlikely colleagues. I feel like this council is stronger because of how diverse we are. And outside of this, I don't know that we ever would have really connected too much, but we always had the city, all of us did, have the city in what we wanted to do was best. My takeaway is that I have a lifelong friend. So thank you.
So first off, I'd like to say to Juan, when he was appointed, you know, I had questions. Young gentleman coming onto the council. What was the motivation? Juan quickly proved that he had the best interest of the city at heart. He came onto the council. He worked hard. He studied hard, and he put his all into it. And I really appreciated the relationships that we developed over the course of time. We take time after council meetings. We talk about issues. We would bounce things off of each other. Always good dialogue. And you listen to my perspectives. I listen to your perspectives. And a lot of times we came away with an understanding of what was best for the city. So I really appreciated that relationship. For Mayor Boudreau, we came on the council, well, we came up here, I came on the council, you became mayor at the same time. And in the beginning, there was maybe some tension between council and the mayor's office. And over time, I think we both grew in our roles, and we worked as allies to do things that were better for the city. Not always did we agree, but at least when we didn't agree, we told each other up front, I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me. We agreed to disagree, or we tried to work for a common ground where we could both agree and benefit the city. The relationship between council and the mayor has been fantastic for the last several years, and I learned a lot of how to interact with people with different opinions, and how that respect goes both ways. So I really appreciate the relationship we had. This is why I didn't say anything earlier tonight.
It's just not me, and yet I'm so happy.
For the rest of my council, it's truly been an honor and a privilege to serve with each one of you. And for the residents of Mount Vernon, I thank you for allowing me to serve for the past 12 years.
Thank you.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's unexpressed joy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as I reflect, it is with a heart full of appreciation that I am eternally grateful to the city that I love. And when I mean the city, I mean everyone, the residents, the departments, the staff, the directors, the council members, the mayor. My parents left their hometown and country decades ago in search of a better life. When they first arrived with no place to stay, to having a son at a place where decisions are made. I am incredibly proud of what we have been able to accomplish in just 3 years. 3 years may sound funny in the world of politics. Congress usually does like 30, right? But that's quite fair, really. Fundamentally, many recognize that when elected officials such as Congress spend multiple decades in office, it is actually detrimental to the progress of a society or of a country. That is why new ideas and new energies stay suppressed while the status quo continues to grow. So for my 3 years, just know that I came here not for longevity, I came here for impact. With plenty of more juice in the tank, I step away not because of a lack of passion or loss of interest behind this. Politics is tough, it's nasty, it can be, but you can get a lot of good work done through that. I mean, I step away, like I said, not because of lack of interest or passion. I step away just to focus on my foundation. And it's not like I decided to run for city council because of a midlife crisis or anything, you know. I got it done at 25. So, and really, I truly love this community. It is this community that raised me and raised me right. So I had to put up a good fight, not for me, but for us. Every decision I ever made regarding our city, I am proud to say that I did it with great care, with compassion, logic, thoughtfulness, and in the realm of what will bring the greatest good for the greatest number. I stayed away from the politics and focused on the work, and I know that it showed. I did this because of the great love and respect that I have for the city and our people. Thank you to every person that had a conversation with me, in cafes, in their homes, at their backyards, at breweries, even though I don't drink. It is because of your wise words and being able to listen to each of you that I have enjoyed this process of not only being a good public servant or a good council member, but in the process of trying to be a better human being, a better man. You gave me courage, you gave me strength, you gave me the wisdom to continue working harder for all of you. Whether you were part of the 70% that believed and elected me, or the 30% who were not so sure, know that I am proud of what all of you got done. Because my work here wasn't for me, the work done here was for you and by you. Had I told all of you 3 years ago that we can and are capable of electing a young person of color, building an energy-efficient, centered library for the community, set differences aside and fund much-needed services like Martha's Place, the Skagit First Step Center, to ensure that working families for the city receive adequate and equitable pay for their hard work, to work on more roads, to signalize intersections, fund nonprofits that do exceptional community work, equip our firefighters with a remodeled station that minimizes exposures to toxins, and fund our police with a new division that integrates the expertise of social workers to better respond to the dilemmas of poverty, homelessness, mental illness, and substance abuse. You would have all thought that we were much too ambitious, that we're shooting for the moon. We're not. All of you got that done in 3 calendars. It wasn't us, it was all of you. To the council, thank you, all the council here present. It was these 6 council members that rolled the dice and took their chances to appoint a young man. Bold move, by the way. What were you guys thinking? I am honored to have the opportunity to have work with all of you, to agree with you, to disagree with you, but at the end of the day, still maintain a great seal of respect for all of you. Unlike in other government bodies, I would not huff and puff, roll my eyes, or disrespect any of you simply because we disagreed on how to get there. Serving in an elected office comes with a higher degree on how we should carry ourselves and how we treat each other. It is vitally important that we understand that agreement is good, but so is disagreement. Our democratic systems and principles are established so that, out of not seeing eye to eye, we are better able to refine and polish up an idea that will serve everyone much better. With that, it is not normal to always be in agreement. In fact, I believe the quality of work and the duty to the folks we serve suffers when we don't ask more questions and push each other a little deeper. Gratitude is also given to my family, to my beautiful wife and son who was crying out in the lobby, to my brothers, my sisters, my young nephews and nieces, to my in-laws, my parents. Each of you have had an impact on me, and I only hope that I've had the impact back to you all. As I hold the floor as your council member, as your public servant for the final time, I want to leave you all with a gift of valuable advice. 1, don't let the cynics and the critics turn you cynical. Keep your faith and trust in our people. 2, stay grounded and listen to understand, not to respond. We need to care for one another, and that begins when we understand each other. And 3, in the words of former President Obama, we are the change that we seek. So get involved, participate in our civic duties if you want meaningful change. Don't sit on the sidelines, participate. Por mi pueblo, fue mi honor ser su servidor. Gracias.
Thank you, Juan.
All right, you're not getting out of this, Jelly, you know that. So you must just go down.
I have to go down there?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Get up, get going.
Yeah. Do some good action here.
I love this stuff so much.
Oh, I know. We already know Jill loves plaques. So we'll take a little look at that later. So, you know who Joe Namath is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I do. I'm
Every
not
time,
that
every time
young.
I talk to her, it's like, I don't know that much about, sports. Well, you're gonna get 2 quotes from 2 sportsmen.
Awesome, okay.
The first is, when you have confidence,
Mhm.
you can have a lot of fun, and when you have fun, you can do amazing things.
Nice, I
Right.
like it, that's a good one.
So when I met Jill, that was 12 years ago in the co-op.
Yep.
It's like, she came in and her first thing is, Gary, you have no idea. I got a great idea and you're gonna love it. And I'm like, well, and then, of course, she tells me the idea and it's like, yeah, but Jill, how are we gonna pay for that? Oh, don't you worry about that. I got plans and here this, there was a confidence there. And I'm like, holy mac, it just kind of put me back on my heels. But you have had confidence in the job that you have done in this city. And I think a lot of people follow that excitement. And the other thing, I'm gonna quote you. Do you know who Bill Bradley is?
I kind of heard of him.
Well, he played for the Knicks. He was one of the best
Okay.
basketball players. One of the best basketball players. But he was actually a senator and ran for president.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bill
well, that's
Bradley.
probably why I know.
Yeah. Well, Bill Bradley says, this is his quote, respect your fellow human being, treat them fairly, disagree with them honestly, enjoy their friendship, explore your thoughts about one another candidly, and work together for a common goal and help one another achieve it. I would say you emulate a lot, not a lot, most of what is being said here. You've been very strong. We have obviously disagreed on a few things. But it's been, I've enjoyed our friendship. I think we've built a really pretty cool friendship over the years. And I'm looking forward to what you're gonna do in your future. Cause I don't know if is that public about being.
Oh, that's advisory committee, yeah. I don't know where that's gonna go either, so.
Well, no, but I think it's awesome, and we look forward to seeing what you're gonna do. Plus, you're gonna kind of be around the city, helping with our. But some of the accomplishments have been, our I-5 corridor, huge. That was a huge project. Finishing up the flood wall, it's just been a great gem for our city. And then I think you can take a ton of credit for the Library Commons project because the amount of time that you spent on that is mind-boggling, I'm sure. And a lot of staff would probably realize what you've done there. So we're very thankful for that and just your leadership in our city. So I guess, do we have this? Oh, wow. Yeah, we got a gift certificate. It says, why, hello, beautiful. A bear boutique. A bear boutique. Yeah, I guess that's from us.
That's like spa stuff.
Okay, yeah, I'm out. Yeah. You just have asked. Whatever happens here, I've never really been in one of those.
Oh, I like this.
Okay, so this is to the Honorable Mayor Jill Boudreau in recognition of your 12 years of leading the city of Mount Vernon with honor, courage, and commitment. And that was from January 1st, 2012 to December 31st, 2023.
I love this plaque.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Did you hear her? She says she loves her plaque.
I love this plaque.
Isn't there
Thank
something
you.
else?
So I just want to mention just a couple things. When I decided to run for council, oh yeah, here, you take these, use them. There was a lot of nastiness going on at the national level. And I, having had 4 children, said, my God, what are our children learning? And you are the embodiment of strong leadership. Gary said it perfectly. You have taken 7 very diverse human beings, and I mean, I would just tell people, just get out of her way. She is going to get that Library Commons project done. Just tell us what you need. Just tell us what you need. And I thank you. I have learned so much from you just sitting up here. I keep hoping that you speak so well publicly. I keep hoping it'll come my way. It's not going to. It's just never going to get easy. But I thank you. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your service to the city. And thank you for leading this council and the city forward.
Appreciate it. I'd like to say everything that Melissa said, spot on, is right there. She said it well. I was happy to come on this council in your second term as the lone woman on council.
You saved me.
I saved you. Just FYI, I saved her. So, and after that, we've built, a strong, I think that was a turning point, I think, a lot with the council. It just felt less contentious. I don't know if that's the right word, but it just felt like we had a common goal. We wanted, and we got along, and we laugh. I mean, we laugh, and we have a good time, but we do serious work. And I don't know if the citizens understand what you have brought to us. And I'm gonna cry again because that's what I do. We're so lucky to have you. Thanks, Mark. We're so lucky to have you. And I have learned also a lot from you. Every time I listen to you talk to legislators or anybody, it's just like, wow, I try to keep that inside, and so I know what to say when people ask questions. So I thank you very much. Thank you for your friendship.
All right, so now I get to talk. I have something to say. Aye. And I wrote a lot of it down because it'll just be easier for me. So I have some remarks to make, and then I'm going to close the meeting with the video that TV10 has produced. So thank you to Candy and Lori and Alex for your help on that. So they'll press the button when they're ready. Our city success is not just the mayor, and it never has been. The mayor as chief executive and chief administrative officer sets expectations and is definitely responsible. In over 12 years, the city team has proven to be remarkable. We have built valuable services, a dedicated professional workforce, met ambitious goals, and provide the most effective use of taxpayer dollars in history. Planning and executing plans requires different skill sets, and this city team has both. Our multitude of successful work is too much to go over tonight, and then each resident of Mount Vernon will see value in different successes. So I'll simply state that I have never worked with better people, working for the right reasons and making lives better. To our directors, you were chosen for your expertise, your experience, and the ability to deliver services. Keep up the vigilance moving forward. Thank you for your leadership. We, the city, are a fundamentally better organization than when I started. Council. Council can be competitive or they can be collaborative. They can be political or not. Thank you, council members, for supporting me and the city workforce. The success of the city is because of the collaboration and trust built over time. I know you will continue to put the city interests above all individual interests and work really well with Mayor-elect Donovan. The mayor and council have a fundamentally better approach than when I started. This job bears the weight of impossible expectations. Provide services without increasing taxes, solve homelessness and inequality, fix climate change, be accountable for everyone and everything, and do it in the way each resident wants it done by next week, or you'll get trolled online and gossiped about. Who does she think she is? And that woman. I leave office with a great deal of pride. I made tough choices. I held people and myself accountable. I governed through major crises. I learned a lot. I was devastated. I've achieved. I stayed the course. And I believe my work speaks for itself, and I've done my best. I am a fundamentally better person than when I started. Specifically, thank you to Carrie Grachishkin, my assistant. From day one, you have been trusted, dependable, and reliable. I always receive compliments on your friendly and efficient work from tonight. For many phone calls, emails, and the occasional visitor, thank you for representing the city and the mayor's office so well and for taking care of me. Peter. Our partnership is clearly something the city has valued. Thank you for being the sounding board, wing person, counselor, ever-present supporter, and truly believing that government can be done right. I don't want to diminish the kindness of so many people, but there are certain people who saw me as a person first and then a mayor. So I'm going to name some names for very specific personal reasons. Mike Marker, who's watching from Las Vegas tonight, Mike. Mike Don, Ben Green, Dave Shackleton, and the entire Mount Vernon Police Department family. Lisa Janicki, Julia Johnson, Steve Sexton, Lori Gear, and Matt Miller, for only the other mayors know what it's really like to be in this position. Jason Brickley, Andy Hansen, Emily Shue, Catherine Cherry, Denise Skelton, Stacy Roberts, Nancy Springer, Deborah Ridgway, June Jordan, Jim Fickert, Heather Rogerson, Don Gordon, Ernesto Chavez, and Demi Damon. Hand on heart, no one has sacrificed more than my family. Dan, thank you for enduring, uplifting, defending, forgiving, and loving me unconditionally. In closing, I'd like to encourage all of us to engage in government with civility. Thank you, Juan, for your words. Cynicism is a self-imposed blindness. It is a rejection of the world because we are afraid of it. We are afraid it will hurt us or disappoint us. We have challenges ahead of us as a city, and we're going to work to succeed, and sometimes our work will fail, but we must trust each other. We have all proved on this dais that we can do the right things. We as a governing body, a workforce, and a community will continue to thrive. Thank you to the City of Mount Vernon for giving me the honor of serving you. The video that you're about to see uses my words from the State of the City address to the Chamber of Commerce earlier this year in May 2023. So I'm going to ask Candy to roll the tape. I think people may describe me like this. If I seem too passionate, it's because I care. If I come on strong, it's because I feel strongly. And if I push too hard, it's because things are not moving fast enough. People that want to lead, want to make things better for their community, for their family, for their children, for that opportunity. And so this is why I decided to run when I did. When I took office, it felt like we weren't good enough to have nice things, or we didn't think of ourselves as worthy of investing funding into the city. I always feel very important that we maintain what we have, we improve what we have, and that therefore we're increasing the use for our public of the facilities that we have. Our city is worth redevelopment and commerce and services. And for a government, when you do things well, you attract money, you attract resources, you attract that type of attention. And so we're proud to do that. We've completed $100 million of infrastructure
here in the city without any increase in property taxes to any of you. I love to build stuff, but I'll say it's secondary to building the team and building the people that deliver your service. It's not just the mayor's office. The directors that are here today are responsible for the reputation of the city of Mount Vernon. It's the most satisfying thing when you can come with a plan that has been vetted by professional and committed staff and that the city council has adopted, and then you get to do stuff on that as the executive. It's not just me, it's everyone that works for us has succeeded. We can show how government is done right to our county and our state and our country. It's been the most incredible honor of my life to serve. I love my job. Leadership should be held to higher standards and to truth and to serving the entire community as a whole.
And with that, we'll be adjourned at 9:11.